Kevin O'Connell is coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and he joins us here at the Indianapolis Scouting Combine, former offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl champion LA Rams. And, you know, it's the first time I've had an opportunity to chat with you about this, but I mean, on the biggest drive of your guys' lives, you, Sean, everybody else, everybody knows you're going to go to Cooper Kupp. And you get it to him 4 times, I think, for 39 yards. To win, basically win the game. How did that? I mean, I know Cooper is an elite route runner, maybe one of the best in the history of the NFL. But I mean, if Cincinnati knows it's coming, and you know that they know it's coming, yet Matthew still goes there and it works, man. I gotta shake your hand on that. That was a masterpiece. Well done.
Yeah, we obviously maybe to the credit of Cincinnati, we expected to try to go into that game and be able to run the football a little bit better than we did. And so they did a great job up front. I mean, they were physical. They had a great plan to kind of take away some of the things we wanted to do. So we became one-dimensional. But luckily, when you're one-dimensional and you got to have it to go win the Super Bowl, you've got Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. But we moved them around. We gave them a lot of different angles, different cuts, trying to make it hard on the defense. And in the end, we those guys went and made plays and got it done. And people don't talk about it a lot, though, on that drive. I mean, we threw the ball, I think, 14 or 15 times. How about the offensive line?
Mm-hmm.
The way they were able to protect against what was a really problematic front all year long for a lot of people. So it came together. We talk about it all the time. We'll talk about it here a lot, about it takes all 11. It takes all 11 to put together consistent drives, convert on third downs, and finish in the red zone. So all of our guys deserve the credit for what they did.
You didn't have all 11 when Odell Beckham went down early in that game.
Yeah.
How much does that change your plan going in? I mean, I don't even think you probably got through your scripted plays before you had torn his ACL and was out. And so tell me just a little bit about in-game, in Super Bowl. Here's Odell Beckham, an incredibly important part of your offense. You're missing your starting tight end as well. But, how much did you have to change things on the fly to accommodate that?
Yeah, it was a big deal because we knew, especially in those third downs where you're going to get a little bit more man coverage, we knew they were not going to let Cooper Kupp just run wherever he wanted on the field. So there was essentially a double on him on every third down. You knew exactly what the coverage was, but when Odell goes down, I mean, he was the featured guy in those situations for most of the plan. You mentioned we didn't have Higbee. Van Jefferson was nursing a little bit of an injury, so he wasn't all the way 100%. Ben Skoranek, these guys that are young players, you expect them to make plays, but it's also the Super Bowl, and they're this is the first time, even if it was at SoFi Stadium, that these guys are in that environment and playing against one of the best teams in the league, trying to it doesn't get more competitive, it doesn't get bigger than that. And so we expected to be able to have Odell, and nobody shines brighter than Odell in those moments, and he had been great for us. We lose him. I've said this many, many times. Had he stayed healthy throughout that game, it could have been a historical performance just with the matchups and how it was working and the way Matthew threw the ball that day. It could have been a historical thing for him. He makes a huge impact. We lose him. Then a guy like Darrell Henderson, our running back, who maybe a lot of people weren't expecting to see be a featured target on third down, but man-to-man, no offense, Ben, but Ben Lieber's sitting here with us. You get that running back matched up one-on-one, against the linebacker, and then add in some elements of picks and rubs and things like that.
Yeah.
All you're doing is over and over again just trying to tip the scales in your favor. Legally, gain an edge on the defense, tempo, rhythm, timing, all those things play into it. It just so happened that we had, had to do it in the Super Bowl and the adjustments that kind of came up within the game. And that's what coaching is in this league. It's giving your players the best possible chance, no matter what the circumstances are, to go out there and have success.
What was your life like the week up to the Super Bowl? Because you knew you were going to be the coach here.
Yep.
And being around the Vikings as long as I have, I mean, the last thing head coaches want to see up to any game, let alone postseason games, are coaches' doors closed. Because it's like, okay, are they working on wheel routes? They working on shallow crosses? Or are they talking to agents and, thinking about stuff like that? Yet there had to have been a time that you guys just shut everything down here, put all the focus on the Super Bowl. But what a blissful time for you and your family, knowing you're going to take a step you've always dreamed of, and you're also going to coach in the Super Bowl. What was that week like?
I'd be lying if I said I slept a whole lot. That was one thing. Trying to get some work done and start that process with the great folks here. It was early in the morning, late at night. We already work some pretty good hours as coaches as is, especially when you're going to try to win a Super Bowl. But it was very, very important to me, for a couple reasons to put everything I had into trying to win that football game. Obviously for the players that we had established such a connection with, and it was such a special group of guys that you knew if we did everything we could to give them a great plan and have the ability to adjust in game depending on how it played out, because the Bengals had 2 weeks to prepare for us, and we had 20 games of information that they could really study. Great coaches, great players over there, so we had to have a all-encompassing plan that took a lot of effort to put together. And then the other factor was obviously I really wanted to do it for our staff, our fans, the people that had supported us, our families. Like you said, there's so much goes into it to doing things the right way. There's so many great people and organizations that don't get the credit behind the scenes that they should for all the hard work that they put in. And you see those people on a daily basis. You look them in the eye, and it would be hard for me to do that if I wasn't all in at that time. But I give, obviously Kwesi and Rob and the rest of the Vikings organization so much credit. They actually came to me and said, there's going to be a stopping point here. And it was about early on in that game week where we want you to be all in on going to win that game.
Awesome. That's great.
Which I thought was really special because they didn't have to do that, and they did. And I was really able to kind of experience, although we were in our home city, sleeping in our own beds, I was able to, as that game week and game day kind of came forward, really experience it, and I'll never forget those memories.
Wow.
And it's great because, you come here with a vision of what you want your team to look like now, and no better way to, cement that in your mind than lifting a Lombardi trophy.
Kevin O'Connell, coach of the Minnesota Vikings, joining us at the Indianapolis Scouting Combine. Charchian?
Talk to me about the onboarding process since you got here, and you had a month less time than a lot of coaches have before, at least from now to the end of the combine. But tell me about mechanically, what have you been doing since you came on board to get Rote up to speed with this team?
Yeah, it's one thing to at a press conference to talk about communication and collaboration and all the words that we use to basically say we're building a culture here, but that's something you really do from the first moment you step foot in the building. And it's been a phenomenal process, whatever it's been. I can't even tell you, 2 weeks, 10 days, whatever it's been. Just with Kwesi and Rob and getting our staffs connected. And we've had times where we've had the scouting group and the coaching staff together, talking about football, talking about players, positional traits that we look for, and not only in the combine, free agency, how we evaluate our own roster. That was first and foremost, just as early and as fast as we can possibly do it in a way that we were getting a lot of great work done, but there was relationships starting to build. And then in addition to that, it's been for me solidifying this coaching staff that I'm so incredibly excited about. You go into it hoping that you can get the kind of guys you can get, and then you start reaching out to people. And the coolest thing for me, and I think it's a credit to obviously the Wolf family, the organization, the great fans as opposing coaches. You come into US Bank Stadium, the one thing you leave is you say that's an unbelievable atmosphere. What a stadium!
Yeah,
great fans. The way they're so invested, not only in their team, but how they cheer. They know when to cheer. They know when the noise means something. They know when they can truly be that, that 12th man type of crowd environment. And I can't wait to be a part of it because I've been on the other sideline. I know what that's like. So now you can really coach our guys up on, our defense better be able to have some nonverbal communication because they're not going to be able to hear each other talk when that other offense is on the field. But I say that because coaches wanted to be here. They wanted to be a part of this for the roster, the organization, everything that it is to be a Minnesota Viking. These coaches that are coming here, offense, defense, special teams, they wanted to be a part of it, and that meant the most to me because that's how I felt about the opportunity as well.
That's awesome.
I think you retained 6-ish coaches from the previous administration. Talk to me just a little bit about how people helped identify the coaches that we didn't want to leave Minnesota. There are a handful of coaches that obviously had built great relationships, and we didn't effectively want to leave out of the building and wanted to come on your staff. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. It was a process where one of the things you want to do when you come in, when they're in any great organization, there's going to be great people and there's going to be great coaches, and you wanted to really spend time and connect with all of those people that were still in house. A lot of coaches through the process of me being hired and then on into actually arriving in Minnesota, they had received opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah, I bet.
And the one thing we did not want to do is hold people back from those opportunities. There's a lot of logistics that go into it, but long story short, You know, a lot of times if guys are under contract, you've got to give them permission.
Right.
It's happened for me throughout my career. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. But you know, coming in, you know, new with a fresh mindset and kind of that thought process of building things the way we want to do it from the ground up, that does not mean that everybody in the building is not going to be part of that. And as you started to talk to Keenan McCardell, you know, Roy Anderson, some of these other guys, our strength staff, some of the great parts of our staff now are going to be people that were connected and here with the players already. And then what you do is you make sure it's a fit. You sit down, you take the time to invest in people, and you get them to, more importantly than me just learning about them, it's them learning about me.
Sure. It's got to work for them too,
and
right?
building that relationship, because our entire staff is going to be connected. We're going to have that kind of family feel to what we do. We're going to work really, really hard. But in the end, you know, to have that connection with the players and the rest of the people in the organization, it's got to be right between us. And something I spent a lot of time on and had real, you know, critical factors that I was looking for, both in coaches and support staff that were going to be around, because those folks have to know how important their job is for the Minnesota Vikings.
Kevin, what was it like coming into the league and immediately working with Bill Belichick, or working for Bill Belichick, but with Matt Castle? And we remember Matt here, just very, very gregarious, loving, nice guy. And I had him on my radio show, you know, within the last week and a half, and he spoke glowingly of you. But Belichick and Castle, right when you started, you know, how key was that in kind of shaping your offensive mind?
Yeah, I think not only just offensive mind, just my football mind, and really looking at things from a standpoint. I really have never forgot the idea of how do we go win this game this Sunday against this team. We may have to play at a completely different style. We not reinvent yourself, but have enough phases of your football team to be able to go play smart, tough, competitive football and give yourself a chance to win the game. I mean, I truly believe in this league, so many teams lose games before they ever give themselves a chance to win them. Turnovers, penalties, you know, lack of execution in those critical times. And a lot of that revolves around giving these players the ability to go play with a quieted mind and being prepared for those moments. And that's what I learned there. And that's why they've had a lot of success over a lot of years, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into that. And it's not just on Sunday at 1 o'clock when they're, you know, going to play an opponent. It goes from the time they start OTAs all the way through the end of training camp with a systematic approach to how you want to teach football, teach your systems. And we're going to have elements of that here. There's no question about it. Being around Matt, I always thought, because that was the year Tom tore his ACL in the first game, and Matt steps in there, and we really didn't know early on who was going in the game, because I had a pretty good camp my rookie year, and Matt did as well. He had a ton of experience, unbelievable person. Every guy in that locker room just loved him. And you know, Bill looks over and puts Matt in the game. I think he throws a touchdown on that first drive, and away we went. We won 11 games. Didn't end up making the playoffs somehow, winning 11 games, if that's possible.
Jeez.
It happened that year. But just watching him go through that process, and really, you know, the light was already on for him. He had already been such a positive part of that organization. But then to go out between those lines and go do it for 16 games and earn the respect of everybody on that staff and on our team. Matt Castle's an awesome human being, and there was nobody more excited for him than me watching him getting to go through that.
How excited are you to call plays? And I know you did it that season with Washington. You know, but you wheeled through 3 quarterbacks. You had Adrian near the end of his career. McLaurin was an absolute stud, so you got the most out of him.
He definitely was.
But I mean, it was a unique situation for you. You know, then you move on working with a coach who's probably putting together or has his hand in the majority of the game plan and calling the plays. But that year, if you reflect and look back, even if it was difficult, there's so much that can come out of difficult times that you can recognize during good times like this. Is that fair?
Absolutely fair. And I think I look at it, you know, the best way to grow and have those growth moments is to go through some struggles, but self-reflect during that time. What could I have done better? How could I have been better for the coaches around me, the players around me, the quarterback in the game? And doing that week in and week out through that season, especially with a young player coming in and kind of finishing out the year in Dwayne Haskins, I thought he took some real steps forward that year. We competed. We played a couple overtime games that we didn't end up winning. But although we had kind of made a change at the head coaching position and every player could have been very easily tapping out and saying, hey, we're ready to move on to the next year and start looking at what this is going to look like. We kept those players invested in what we were doing. We competed. There was some growth there that, I still talk to some of those players, and they still talk about some of those moments throughout that season that those are the things that mean a lot to me. And those are the things that I talk about, that self-reflection and growth that took place. That helped me be a better coach in L.A., and it's certainly going to help me be a better coach now, getting to put together my own offense, how I want to do things with obviously building things for our personnel here, our coaches here. These great coaches will all have an input and an influence on what we do because they're all coming from different places, but the shared football philosophy helps put things together in a way where, the sky's the limit. You don't want to have 15,000 plays either. You want to really figure out what you want to be as an offense and have your identity. And I think we know what we want to be. We know what we want to look like. Now it's about fitting things to the players because that's the most important thing.
And working with Sean, and being on the sideline. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but, you guys have to think exactly alike. You have to know exactly what he's thinking. You're seeing things that maybe he doesn't see. So, therefore, in-game on the sideline, like what were some key roles for you with the LA Rams?
Well, first and foremost, just dealing directly, being that line of communication to the quarterback was something that I've really always taken a lot of pride in because it's the hardest position in sports, and guys go through adversity, play in and play out after a drive, halftime, before those critical drives late in the game, and when you're the voice to those guys and you can be that last little bit of either encouragement or, enforcing discipline of, hey, this is how we got to play on this drive, or, hey, this is how we got here. This is how we're going to go win a game. Those moments that take place, and I've had a few with Kirk before. I've had them with Matthew Stafford to go try to win a Super Bowl. I had those with Jared Goff. Alex Smith. You just go through the list of guys that, those relationships that were formed during those moments, those will stay with me forever, but you also know how important that is.
Yeah.
So now you get to be the voice in their ear.
Yeah.
Now you get to be the guy in the headset.
Because it's hot. You got to make sure they don't take it personally and throw them off their games, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And in the end, if you got the right guy in there and that connection is there, they should really be extensions of us out there on the football field. But the other thing, the other role was being there for Sean and being there was a lot of times where, the collaboration that took place to build those plans, you felt real ownership of because you were a real part of it. And him and I over those 2 years, I cannot even explain how much we grew together. I learned from him. I don't think there's a lot better play callers in the NFL than Sean McVay. So who better to learn being around day in and day out, side by side than him? I think I'm going to be the best version of myself for the Minnesota Vikings because of a lot of things, but being around Sean's definitely one of them.
That's awesome.
You've alluded to Kirk Cousins a couple of times, Kevin, so I got a couple of questions for you. First, what do you remember from your time working with him? I think it was 2017 in Washington. What do you remember of Kirk then?
I remember him being, ultra talented throwing the football. Quarterback guys, you kind of look at the position, you look at the fundamentals, you look at the technique, you look at the effortless accuracy that some quarterbacks in this league have. And what do I mean by that? They don't have to think about throwing the ball wherever they want. You got to place it on the right shoulder instead of the left shoulder. You got to put a little bit more touch on it to throw it over a defender. You got to drive the ball in a short area in the red zone to try to throw a tight area touchdown. Those things jump off the tape at you. But then when you start coaching a guy, you start seeing, man, this guy, he doesn't even have to think about throwing a football. And that is, fans might think, yeah, that should be everybody, but that's not the case in this league. And I could speak from personal experience that I had to think about it. And I said to myself, that little voice right before that ball left my hand, I said, can I actually throw this ball right here? I know the guys that don't have to think about that because I've been around them, and I believe he's one of them. And that starting point, if you've got confidence in your system, you've got confidence you're going to try to get some people open for him, especially some of the guys that we have to try to get open for him. I'm really, really excited about some of these guys. I think Kirk Cousins will hit them when they're open. And then I think he's really grown as far as, his discipline of playing the position. He's durable. He's available. He's always out there for us. And I think that's huge, huge, huge things for the rest of the team to be brought along with him when your trigger man has those traits. And now we got to put an offense together for not only him but all of our guys that we can go win a lot of football games.
Get ready for this at the end of your press conferences, okay? Bob Hagan,
Time for 2 more.
And they got to be quick. He has to go. How immersed within Minnesota have you become? I mean, you're going from what, Newport Beach to New Prague, Manhattan Beach to Mall of America. I mean, it's. I went to Pasadena City College and Glendora High School. So I mean, I lived in Southern California 15 years. Moved here in '98. It's beautiful. It's wonderful, but it is a change.
It's a change, but I'll tell you what. And people have said this to me. You're going to love living there. You're going to love the people. And the one thing that resonates with me is wherever I go, I don't get a lot of time out of the facility, but wherever I go, go grab a bite with the coaches, or we got a chance to go to a Timberwolves game as a full organization, which was really special for me.
Forgive them for that night.
Yeah, that outcome was not special.
They beat Steph last night, so they responded, okay? And life is about response.
But what that opportunity gave us was a chance to connect with people outside of our building. And I can tell you, I feel the passion of Vikings fans.
Yeah.
I feel the warmth of truly understanding what Minnesota nice feels like and what the people are all about. And I can tell you, my family, myself, we're so excited to just get in this community, be a part of it, hopefully do everything we can to make it a better place and be a part of it in a way where people are happy that we're here. And then it's time to go try to win some football games.
We'll have many conversations down the road, so we can talk about your bookending tackles, Darrison O'Neal. Yep. What a wonderful starting block that is, of course, J.J. Dalvin and Kirk and stuff. But at your press conference in closing, you impressed me so much for what it's worth when you were addressing your family. And there were 1 of 2 ways to go there. You're looking right at your wife and your kids and your step-parents or whatever, and you could have said, I'm here to show – you guys have waited a long time. I'm here to show you what I can do. Or say, I'm excited to watch you guys grow through this process. That was beautiful. And that approach of serving others as a head coach is just so important than being, damn it, we're going to run it this way, and that's the end of the story. So that was very impressive.
I appreciate you saying that. And I know we're going to get a chance to speak together a lot, but I appreciate you guys having me on and just the acceptance of being a part of this thing. Appreciate you guys coming to Indianapolis.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. Does it still sound wild?
It doesn't sound wild. It feels right, but I'll tell you what, there's nobody more excited about it than me.
Well, I mean, with the combine here, it's nothing but rookies, so hopefully you know what to do with these draft picks. You guys got the Super Bowl, but you haven't had a lot of draft picks the last X amount of years, so you're going to do some damage, man. And congratulations on your opportunity, all right?
Appreciate you guys, absolutely.
Yep. Kevin O'Connell, coach of the Minnesota Vikings from Indianapolis on KFAN.